Well, it's time for some maintenance on the old Ford. That thing's been taking a bit of abuse lately. It's got 420,000 kilometers on it. You guys are watching my videos. Every time I make one on that, you can pretty much hear the thousands of kilometers rolling up on that as I progress. I put a lot of K on it. I drive a lot. I think since last August, I've put about almost 40,000 kilometers on it. Not sure what that is in miles, maybe over 20,000, something like that. But what I noticed the other day when I was driving down the road is that I had some front wheel bearing noise, and when I would turn a corner, I'd have my foot on the brake. The brake pedal would tend to be pushed out. So I knew I was getting some rocking inside my front wheel hub here. Now, I'm used to working on the old Toyotas, my Land Cruisers and such, and they have a spindle with bearings on either side, conical bearings, and you pull all that apart. You change the races, you change your bearings, you repack it with grease, and you throw everything together. But that's different with the Ford. With the Ford, you get a complete hub assembly. Everything is pre-packed, more or less crushed in there. It has a big nut on here, obviously. These aren't serviceable. Once they wear out, you just simply replace them. Pros and cons, it's a very quick job, a little bit more expensive than pulling your Toyota apart and just sort of repacking your bearings every once in a while. That's not really possible with this. And you know what? Sometimes you just don't know when they're gonna go on you. I tried to play with the wheel with the truck sitting on the ground and I had no movement. But I lift the truck up, I can sort of get a little bit of movement on this one side. You can see I've got some play in here. And I mean, once I got the tire off the ground, it was quite loose. On the other side, there's just a lot of drag. So you know what? That's been affecting my fuel economy as well. I got this Timken hub assembly here. Comes with your studs. It also has the backing studs that bolt into your knuckle. Everything is ready to go. It's got a seal as well. I've already done one side, and it's actually a very easy job. Pulling the old one off really wasn't that hard as well, considering that I run this thing in the snow and the salt and all the nastiness. So we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna work on the other side as well. So I'm gonna replace this hub assembly with a Timken hub assembly. This was the best one I could get. You do have options. You have a cheaper kind of hub assembly that you can get if you just wanna throw everything together and sell your truck if you wanna be that kind of guy. I prefer to do things the right way that they're gonna last a lot longer. I have no idea how long this assembly was on the truck, but I know that this one's gonna give me at least a year warranty, and I'm not gonna have issues with it. I wanna make sure that that truck just doesn't really break down on me. So I went with the Timken. I'm gonna show you how to install this. I've already done the other side. It's quite easy. Everything that you need more or less comes with this. Now when you're in there, you've dug your way into these hub assemblies, you've gone in so far, you might as well do a brake service if it needs it. Mine does. I'm gonna do everything up. Some parts are seized, the calipers are leaking, they're weeping around the seals. Time to replace them. So I'm gonna show you how to do that, but first, I wanna show you something. So when I was pricing out this job, I called up Ford and a jobber to find out, the pricing on these calipers. From Ford, you get a remand or a remanufactured caliper. Somebody's already had it on their truck, they've pulled it off with the Recore, and they've rebuilt it, sent it back to Ford, and you get it and you install it on your truck. At the jobber, like an AutoZone or one of these places that sells rebuilt or remanufactured calipers, I priced that out there as well. Now you can see that there's a difference. The one from Ford doesn't come with a mounting bracket. The remanufactured one does. I should have asked, I should have looked in the box, and quite honestly, I believe the Ford guy should have told me, because he knows better. He knows that when he sells one of these, the guy's gonna be back looking for a bracket kit because they have a tendency to get seized up, and you know what, it's just part of the thing. It's false economy if you don't change out the mounting bracket at the same time. And a big difference in price as well. This whole assembly here cost me $75. I've looked over it. It's a Ford caliper. It's Ford stamped right there. The seals look exactly the same. The pistons look exactly the same. Everything looks exactly the same. Chances are pretty good. Came out of the same remanufacturing facility. Everything looks exactly the same. Cheaper to go the aftermarket route. You get the bracket. All said and done, 75 bucks. If you're to go the Ford way, you're looking at well over $300. Not a good thing to do. Now let's get these installed. I'm gonna show you how to do that. I've got this front end just slightly off the ground, and I can actually feel that's hard to turn and listen. That's not a good sound. That's not a wheel bearing sound you want. If I move this, not too bad. It's not like the other side with a lot of movement, but you know what? This one's on its way. Get that out of there. Make sure you wear your gloves. A lot of people say, hey, why are you wearing your gloves, you wussy? It's to keep the hydrocarbons off. It's to keep the dirt out. Your skin absorbs that stuff, goes all through your body, and when you're a certain age, who knows what age it is, something bad's gonna happen to you. And you don't want that to happen. You want to be around a long time to enjoy a happy life with your kids, your family. That's why we do this. And always wear your goggles. Remove this cap here. There's a small needle bearing in there that goes around your axle. You're just going to want to lube that up. Now, they don't tell you to do that, but I do that. And as well, there is a seal surface right here. There's an O-ring that goes all the way along there. So lube that up and put your seal in there. Keeps it from seizing up and creates a better seal, of course. Then you're going to pull your hub off. But first I give it a little bit of lubricant here because there's a seal in there that has a tendency to hold it in and dirt gets in there, whatnot. Now I've seen this done in the States. It just goes, comes out nice and easy. Sometimes we don't get that lucky here in Canada. Get out of there. There we go. Actually pretty easy. A little bit of water got in there. I'm going to clean this up. Part of that hub's actually broken. Anybody have a spare hub? And inside there you have a little C-clip. Use your spreaders. You want to pull that out. And there are a bunch of spacers in behind here. There's no actual nut that holds this all on. So everything comes out very easily. You know what, that's seized up bad enough. I've always had a hard time turning this hub. I usually have to use a couple of tools to give it a good turn. I might just get a new one of those. All right, so one thing I'm going to do is, since I'm going to change out that caliper, I'm going to pinch off this brake line. I just use a pair of vice grips. Don't do it very hard. It's not needed. These brake lines only have so many cycles they can handle, so you got to be pretty gentle with them. Just pop your brake line out of the way. Now that's all dirty and rusty. Looks really bad. Things. It's usually on there pretty well. It's gonna need a little bit of help here from my friend, the pry bar. bad, bad. Now make sure when you put all this back together, you use the proper recommended torque values. You can get a service manual for this online. Do that. I'm not going to give you any values because you know what, they change all the time. And this back in the 2099, 2001, everything sort of seemed to change for different models. So you got to get your specific book for your model. All right, get that out of there. Now I'll need that to send back as a recore. This will just pop, should pop off. Studs on the back of the hub that you can see I installed here. All I got to do is get in behind there. They're a little tricky and I can't really get at them with the camera. So you just got to get on those, turn them off. I'm going to leave that rotor on there because it's all junk. I've turned this wheel a little bit. It's going to help me get at the back of that rotor hub here. That's a good tight one. There we go. Get at the front ones, I'm going to do the same thing. Man, these winters are hard on these trucks. Now's a good time to check your upper and lower ball joints as well. Give them a rock back and forth, see if you notice any movement in it. If so, you're gonna have to change those out. They're gonna cause a lot of issues for you. Wear on your tires, maybe a little bit of uncontrollable kind of feeling with your front end. You don't want that. There we go. There's the rotors out. Now I can just get in there. Now this hub has been replaced before, which, you know what, I don't really doubt. The truck has over 400,000 kilometers on it, and they used an ABS type hub. This truck doesn't have ABS brakes on the front. If you do get that kind with a little wiring harness, you can just cut that off. Doesn't make a big difference. That hub is beat. Done. Okay. That dirty, dirty. You're going to want to come in here, you're going to want to clean up or polish up this mating surface between this dust guard and the hub itself. Now it's time to install that new hub assembly. It's going to go on pretty easy. It's the coming off, it's the hard part. It's not fun. Next time I do this, I'll put a new dust cover on there. Before I do that, I'll clean this out a little bit. I'll put some grease along here because that's where the seal goes in around there. Make that slip in a little easier. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to just hand tighten all these hub nuts just to snug it up against the knuckle. Now it's time to install this rotor. I did get this from Ford. You know, there are different grades and different qualities of rotors that you can get from, you know, jobbers or part stores. Some are cheaper, some are a little thinner, poorer quality metal, not gonna last you as long. For the most part, I generally go with OEM stuff, but you know, Ford quality, not quite sure, you know, how good these are to begin with, but I did go with OEM spec. Let's look at it that way. These are from Ford. They should do the trick, right? Now this is raw steel. It is going to have a protectant on there to keep it from rusting when it's sitting on the shelf. You got to remove that. It's got like a grease on it, or like a rust preventative, if you will. Clean that out of there. I'm not touching that surface. Do the same for the other side. Cleaned up. Put that in place. Get the box out of here. Now I'm just going to return my spacers and this little shim here. And then I will return this circlip, C-clip, retaining clip, whatever you want to call it. Get back in there. You're going to want to hear that snap when it goes into position. There. That's it. That's all the way around. Then lube up your locking hub here so it goes back into position quite easily. You're going to have to Mickey Mouse around with this a little bit. Here, I'll put some in there too. There we go. Then replace your locking ring here. And that you can just hear click into place. You should be able to. There. You know, with any kind of a hub, if you suspect that there's a hub issue up front, there's a bearing issue, you can usually grab it and see if it's hot, and it'll give you a good indication of, you know, what's going on inside. I would grab that, or cool, it really didn't give me an indication that there was a hub issue. But, you know, that's just the way it is. There's a lot of plastic in there, so, you know, who knows what happened. Those calipers all loaded up. I believe you can get some, might have the pads, everything ready to go. You just slip them in. They're a little more economical, quality-wise, but maybe it's not something you want to use on your own personal vehicle. For somebody looking to save a whole bunch of money, might be the way to go. I just put those in hand tight before I start cranking on anything. You don't want to cross-thread one of those, and you're in big troubles. This is going to flop around a little bit, your rotor. There's no retaining screw or bolt like on some vehicles that'll hold your rotor in place. Your wheel's going to do that for you. I may have gotten some grease. I did get some grease inadvertently on here again. I'm just going to clean that up. You don't want grease on your pads. In fact, you want to seat these right. You need to go through several heat cycles to do it right, but you have to make sure you have high quality rotors and pads to do a really good quality seating. There we go. I'll clean that up a little more. There. All that's left to do, hook up that brake line, bleed these brakes, get my buddy in here, get him on the pedal, and that's it. All right, I gotta thank you guys for coming by. A very easy installation. You know, with all the brake parts and the hubs themselves, I'm probably about $1,500, maybe less, $1,200. If you were to get a shop to do this, you're looking at a big expense. This is very easy to do. Don't be intimidated by it. You can do this yourself. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check us out on Facebook for cool giveaways. I have a couple other cool things coming up as well, so you're not going to want to miss them. Thanks for watching.
You to come, I'll make it.